Okay, I'm live on my iPad. Let's see if this works. Can anyone hear me? We also are having a terrible storm. Can you hear me now? Shannon, can you hear me?
I am trying to move the phone away from here so I can hear my ear.
Okay, Heidi, can you hear me? Hello, Heidi. I've never done this on my iPad.
Do you have an earphone for your iPad?
No. Can you hear me at all on the iPad?
Let me hang up and get off on my phone. That's
Okay,
and then
bye.
text you.
All right. Heidi, can you hear me? Maybe there's a big delay. Shannon, can you hear me? Can you hear me on the iPad? Yes, no, maybe. All right, well. I don't know. Okay, you can hear me now? All right. Okay. That is good. Okay, so there's only a few people here, which is great. I'm wondering if there's a big delay. So, I wonder if I should go into all right. I'll do, okay. So Shannon says she has a big delay when she is watching it on the cell phone, but not on her computer. So I literally have to take my phone and a toothpick and pull the hay out. And there could even be hay and dog treats because when I go outside, I have pockets full of grain, hay, dog treats, who knows what. So anyway, now of course, my voice. Woo! Just spilled some coffee. Okay, it's exciting. There must be a big delay because it doesn't look like anybody's here. But I'll just talk to Heidi and Shannon and Craig. So it has been quite a week, and we're here with Live with Joan. I'll start with my introduction. It is I'm watching my dog watch my cat, which is pretty funny because the dog is waiting for the cat to jump up on the cat tree, business as usual. Anyway, if you're new to me, I am Joan Ranquet. I'm an animal communicator, author, TEDx speaker, and founder of Communication with All Life University. And that is a school or a program where you can learn animal communication or energy healing for fun, or you can get certified in both of those. And we have lots of new things coming up, and I have a new book coming out June 20th called Emotional Freedom Technique. It's right there. Tapping Emotional Freedom Technique for animals and their humans. And so we're really gearing up with that because we've got a whole shelter project. We have a lot of things in the works that are very exciting. And we have a pilot project coming up, and then we have some classes. But for those of you who know me, you know that I canceled last week because my cat Francesca went to the Rainbow Bridge last Tuesday. So it's been a week, and it's been a very quiet week. My dogs and cats and I have been just very quiet for the week, and we're kind of coming back out, coming back to work. It was quite intense. So she was sick for a while, and we had a lot of very wonderful time together, and it was very healing for all of us. And now that we had the Animals in Transition class, we'll talk a lot about this tomorrow in the Animals in Transition class, because tomorrow's theme is that state of grace. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because the state of grace to me is a state where the human tends to drop everything, and any pain or suffering that the animal is going through seems to get suspended to some degree. And you go into this space together where there is really kind of only love. And when you're in that space, animals tend to stay longer than people can imagine, because why wouldn't they? You've dropped everything. You really made them and their existence your entire world. So we had quite a bit of that, in part because we had, she'd gotten a little bit sick at the end of the fall intensive, and then we really had the, so she got sick at the end of the fall intensive, but she really had gotten sick during COVID. And it's interesting because at some point we were able to relieve that. So she had asthma. She got asthma, I think, from the dust, because I have a lot of animals. So even though it was illegal here in the state of California to have somebody come over at the beginning of COVID, my cleaning ladies were coming over, and I just went outside. And I had to keep the dust down for the cat and myself. But you just don't know. I mean, I live on a dirt farm. That's what I joke, that in the summer I'm manufacturing dirt and sunshine. But it's, I have a lot of animals. There's a lot of dust. There's a lot of cat hair. There's a lot of dirt. So she ended up getting asthma, and through Dynamite products, Jill and Joan, CBD, and acupressure, I was able to relieve the asthma. And I even taught any house sitters, when I finally started traveling, if she had a moment, what to do with it. And so in many ways, it is really storming I should, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, we're having a mini hurricane. So anyway, we had a lot of time together where I just noticed, that maybe I needed to keep my eye on this. And COVID, in that way, in many ways, was brilliant for people spending a lot of time with their animals. I mean, my life, other than not traveling, didn't really change because my weekdays are here. I'm on Zoom every day. It is what it is. So I had very, very, very close time with my animals. And I continue to. My TEDx talk about the Rainbow Bridge really went into a little bit about Preciousville, those moments that, it's precious because they're older, they're aging, they're dwindling, whatever it is. And after I did the TEDx talk, I started thinking to myself, why wouldn't everything be Preciousville? And we really made it that way. So in that part, the beauty of that also is, like, for the minute, I have very few regrets, right? I'm not sitting with a lot of guilt, and I'm not sitting with a lot of regrets. And so I just miss her presence terribly. I mean, she was so gorgeous, but she was so otherworldly. It was like, almost like, I realized when I cried all week, which I've cried all week, she would be the one that would just jump in my lap the minute I was crying, and almost like she wrapped little angel wings around me. Like, she really took care of me, and she was just so beautiful to look at. She brought such peace in that way, and so I miss that terribly. But that started to go away as she got sicker and sicker and lost weight. She got a thyroid, she got hyperthyroid. And, so she lost a lot of weight. She didn't look like that, but she still felt like that. And I carried her little body around a lot toward the end there, and I papoosed her to me. And she really was, even at her sickest moment, you cannot believe what love emanated from her. And so, like I said, I have very few regrets. I just miss all the physical things. And I mean, she was also very, I have mice because I live on a farm. When she was well, there would not have been a mouse. I mean, these guys are just lazy. These other three they're just not that great hunters, and maybe they're lazy because their mom was so good, but I don't know that I've ever really had mice. So there's just things that are different now that I don't have this badass matriarch. I mean, she was the essence of peace, unless you were prey. And then that was just game over. You weren't gonna survive being in here. And anyway, that's that. And I want to just see, there are people coming on. And I really appreciate all the ways that people have written to me or sent flowers. I've got beautiful flowers, beautiful, beautiful flowers everywhere. This was supposed to be when my phone wasn't working, but you can see some of them over there. And so that's been lovely, and they are as beautiful as she was, and somehow the colors match, and it's It's just really, really beautiful. But so it's been very quiet here, and we live in a quiet world anyway, but it's been really quiet. It's been a different level of quiet. And I noticed, yesterday was the first day of spring, and it did feel a little like, there's a little bit of lightness, but then we're storming, and I'm in sweater weather because it's so cold. But that's it. I had some other stuff planned, actually last week. We're going to do it next week. I have a special guest. There were a lot of things I was going to do with the Facebook Live, but then, like I said, I canceled because it was the day last week that the vet came and sent her to the Rainbow Bridge. And it was a beautiful day. I had written into the Facebook group, my private Facebook group for the university, that I was letting her go and if they wanted to say anything to her. And I sat and read every single thing that everybody wrote to her before she died, and oh my God, she loved it. I could just feel her feeling that. So it was a really, just an unbelievably beautiful send-off. I always wondered why we celebrate life after somebody is gone. And to me, I tried to organize a celebration of my dad's life while he was still alive, and I did some little things, but we knew he was going soon enough, and so I organized some little things, but I really wish I would have done the big thing while he was still alive, because I kind of think that, well, it's just more fun. So in many ways, that was her celebrating her life while she was still in her body, just hanging on by a thread. Yeah, so I would love to hear anything that, any rituals, anything you have done. I'll try to read them if you can. There seems to be quite a delay, but if there's anything you want to type in, and maybe I should call Shannon, because without Claudia here, I'm kind of, it's hard for me to see. And like I said, there seems to be a pretty big delay, unless I can find it here on the Facebook group.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to 13.
Yeah, is anyone, is anyone typing?
Michael said, my niece's Rocco crossed over yesterday, a few weeks ago. I recommended your TEDx talk on the Rainbow Bridge, and it made all the difference in the world. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really great.
And I posted the link to it. And then Elle O'Brien just said, I love the TEDx. I just watched it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is in many ways why we have the animals in transition and creating a whole certification out of it. It's because, well, the vet that came over, I'm going to mute that for a moment. The vet that came over, that's all she does. And so it just, her presence was so calming and perfect. All my animals were at ease with her, and I bring everybody in. And so by being, by having this ability to be that calm during that transition, I just think it's what if there were more of us that were able to be that for people? And I'm going to unmute you now. Okay. Is anyone else typing in, Shannon?
Yeah. I buried my chihuahua Lulu and planted a garden over her. When I moved, I dug up the gardenia and I moved it with me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you have your gardenia with you now?
And then Leah wrote, I loved the virtual death and dying retreat. So many good ideas with the bucket list. I also remain present as much as possible during our special snuggle times.
That's awesome. And I think, you know, the bucket list is something we should be creating as we go, from the moment we get them as a puppy or when they first walk in, or as a kitten. You know, just seeing what it is that they love and creating and providing that for them all the days of their lives, right?
Yeah, I just did a post a couple days ago about, you know, this class has inspired me to do bucket list for all my animals, and then I'm choosing something off of, you know, a different animal each day and doing them. And 2 days ago when I was doing one off of Titan's bucket list, we were taking a walk, we came back and I was inspired to do what we call Crazy Dog, and he was running around like Riley used to, so it was very much a remembrance of Riley and then participating in Titan's bucket list. So it was really, really special. I could literally see Riley running around the same group of trees with him, playing with my glove, and that's not anything Titan normally does, so it was really kind of a 2-in-1 moment for me.
That's really cool. I'm going to put your speaker. So can everybody hear you, Shannon?
I don't know. I can ask. Can everyone hear me?
Can everyone hear Shannon? Want to come up?
Let's see. There are some more things typed in. I hope they can hear me. Let's see. Jane said, do you have thoughts on letting an animal die naturally versus euthanasia? That's a pretty big question, so I'll pause with that one.
Okay, who said that?
Jane Ratcliffe.
I do. So I think that for one thing, well, I have a friend, she's still alive. I have a friend who is a veterinarian in Boulder, Colorado. Oh yeah. Did you knock over my coffee? I know, thank you, Queen Latifah. We just brought some lightness to the subject. Anyway, my friend Turi Norman is a vet in Colorado, and she is a Buddhist, and she could not euthanize an animal. She just wouldn't do it. And then we talked a lot about that. This was like in 2000. And at the time, I was in I didn't finish, but I was in a PhD program for energy medicine. And so that became a pretty big topic there as well. And going back to that state of grace, right? If you watch, and I've watched this with people too, there seems to be almost like a suspension in that state where animals and people are not in the same pain that they once were. And if you're in that state, or you have pain managed, then allowing someone to get as close as they can to that natural leaving on their own is in many ways again, as long as they're not suffering, the preferred thing, because first of all, death, like anything else, is a labor. It's a labor into that next life. So if we can enable them allow them all of their steps that they need to get into that next life, then we're kind of helping with their karma, so to speak. We don't know what, and that just depends also on what your beliefs are about what you believe is on the other side of this. But even if this were the only thing, if there were no afterlife whatsoever, I would want to make sure somebody had complete completion of whatever it is. And, we tend to be very anthropocentric, so we think it's about us. And it's really not. It's about them and what it is they need to complete. And I'll give you a great example. I had the acupressure class here over the weekend. Dr. Jill Todd and I were teaching acupressure the weekend before all this was going down. One gal was here from Australia, and she even said, I knew your cat was sick, and she said, I watched my email every day to see if you were going to cancel. What are you smelling? To see if you were going to cancel the class. And, she was ready to cancel her flight. And I said, well, I wouldn't have done that. And I was talking to Shannon about all of this on the phone. And I didn't teach as much as I normally do with Jill. I let her kind of do a good majority of it. Heidi was here last year when we taught very much together, although we did get to my points this time. But I hung back a bit, but also I think one of the most important things that came up in the conversation when I was talking to Shannon about it, she was like, oh, it's too bad that, your last time or whatever is, you've got this class going on. And as we were discussing it, I said, she has 3 kittens and she raised those 3 dogs. So, I know, big sigh. If I am in the other room, so I'm around, but I'm not here hovering, she has an opportunity to complete her business with everyone else. And to me, that's as important as completing her business with me. And I don't know what that would be. And I don't know what that looks like. And I don't know what their contracts are. But I do know they were big. And they needed the space to complete that. So for me, allowing somebody to go through as many stages as they can, and if we assist at the very end, then we're really honoring all of the steps that they need to complete. And God, if they can go on their own, that's the best deal of all. But sometimes in that state of grace, there's so much love, it's hard to leave. And I hope that makes sense. It was, again, a long-winded answer. Shannon, are you still there?
Yeah, that was a beautiful answer. And I think like all of us that have had multiple animals, we've been in both situations. And if they can go on their own, like I was lucky enough to have Bella Kitty do, that's the biggest blessing ever. But with Riley, I had to step in, and it just, you miss them either way. We've got a lot of comments here, so I'm going to go ahead and read those. We've got one from Craig. I've always appreciated the words and wisdom of Bell Ruth Naparistek, I'm not sure, in her ease, grief, guided imagery. a lot of loss and grief these past few years, and I'm hoping it may offer some comfort. A bit of a paraphrase, but here's the gist. Those we have loved and lost are with us always. They live on in our hearts. Think of them and they will be with you always, is who come and go. Leah says, yes, it's not end of life bucket list, but creating and enjoying it as we go, which, yeah, I mean, Joan, you said something really profound in one of the classes about being able to separate guilt from grief so that you can process the grief.
Mm.
And I got to tell you, doing these bucket lists as early as possible is, I can't tell you how helpful that is. Heidi says, I've participated in parties and gatherings to celebrate pets and do things they love, eat food they liked but wasn't good for them, howled and sang with the dogs. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna, Isabella left on her own, but the night, if she had stayed alive another 2 nights, I was gonna have a let's eat out of the garbage can party, because that was her favorite thing. But I think she knew that I was going to do that for her, and that was good enough. But I wanted to go back to something else you said about the bucket list. I set up my day. Every single day is based on Monday, Wednesday, Friday is I work out, but it's also my time with my horses. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, that morning is with my dogs. Those mornings are with my dogs. Part of it is because I'm a workaholic and I'm going to work all day, and even if it's hard for me to break away once I'm in something. And it's just so hot here in the summer that it's just get up early and spend a couple hours with your animals. And so then when I travel a lot or I'm working a lot, I don't feel bad at all because I know I'm 100% here with my animals when I'm home.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's an important, it's something we can all do. It just takes a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah, but it is setting up that time each day is so important. Has anyone else typed in?
Yeah, we've got quite a few. So Melissa Ovid says, it's hard having one animal for the first time in my life and they're a senior. I'm trying to stay present, but panic creeps in.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Elle O'Brien says, I've always tried to let my babies cross over on their own. I've always received clear signs of what to do and then confirmation after that most people would call coincidence, but I think nobody here would. Leslie Williams says, we celebrated Pebbles, their border collie, the last day with a little family party. Even though she was very weak, her eyes sparkled with joy. She had her favorite things to eat, so many cuddles, and it was just lovely. Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love that. Yeah.
Me too. Jane Ratcliffe says, thank you for sharing. Oops, it popped. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I studied Buddhism for decades and were taught never to interfere with the death process for some of the reasons you mentioned, but I recently heard another animal communicator urge people to euthanize. So when you mentioned that the vet came, I was curious. Thank you.
Look, if she could have gone on her own, I would have done it. But if you knew her life force, even though it was hanging on by a thread, was stronger than most people's, but the tumor was popping her eyeball out, if I'm just honest. And I can look at it. I'm not suffering for that, but the idea that she would be in pain and that an eyeball would literally pop out was just, that's where at the end, no, I'm not going to urge anybody to euthanize. I think it's, like I said, I think I helped her get through whatever that karma is for her next life. I didn't help her. I supported her on her journey. She did her own work. And in the end, there was that support, the euthanization support. I think a lot of people would love that support. And I don't, I love the whole Buddhist thing of, not interfering in that. And we can, at that point, for humans though, we tend to put them in hospice, and as they're in hospice, they're so drugged up that they don't have that conscious death. And what I wanted for me and the cat was that every moment that she was still in this body, there was, and that was a joint agreement on both of our part, that it would be a conscious death. And it was. And that's where I've watched a lot of people in hospice, and there's good and bad to that, right? Like, that's also an interference. Even if they end up going on their own, they go so drugged out. And yeah, maybe they're getting a lot of work done. I watched my mother, speak every third day, after like probably 10 days in that unconscious state. And so she was getting work done, but I don't know, I don't know. That was just the agreement we made. And I don't.
That's an important point. We have an agreement, a different agreement with each of them,
Yeah, and I don't think that, anybody should advocate anything. Like, if I'm going to advocate something, it's, God, I hope you get a beautiful conscious death. And if that includes, at the very end, very, very end, someone assisting, then that's it. But I'm not going to say I think everybody, I'm shocked that an animal communicator would say that everybody should euthanize, because that's just, no, I'm praying we all go on our own. But
Jane Ranquet followed up by saying, that's beautiful, thank you.
Yeah. And again, I think that when we want that idea of euthanization, sometimes that is about us. Like, it's just more convenient that we do it this time, or I can't watch the suffering. And, that's part of the agreement then. And I am okay with whatever stage. I guess I'm okay until your eyeball pops out. Then I'm gonna help you. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. Except that I knew that was and we went back and forth with it. I mean, I almost canceled that appointment a million times, because I just felt, because I carried her here for the last 24 hours, that maybe this isn't the time. And then the next thing you know, it was like that morning, it was like, yep, let's do it. So, we have a couple minutes left. Do you?
Yeah, I've got a couple more just to read. Melissa O that came back on and said, I heard my fawn as I was walking this morning like she was alive. I now keep my dog at my side with me everywhere. I even gave up some healthy purity issues that I've had by taking my guy for custard every Monday. This is so important to me, as I hope I did the right thing letting my girl pass on her own with me. Energetically, I tried supporting her out of her body. Every second we were together, it was very conscious. So, and I that's how I felt with Bella. It was the first time, I think, and you hit on a point, Joan, like how much can we take, right? And with Bella, I was like you. I mean, I had, and you know what I had to do to take care of her. And it was still just such a different experience. And I just was so blessed that we were both conscious the entire time, and all the animals had a chance to come and say goodbye to her. And the fact that, I was doing the scale around here when she decided to leave her body, I'm thankful to her that was that. Otherwise, I would have had to have somebody else come in and assist me too. But in that one instance, I didn't. So, Melissa, I can resonate with that. Like, yeah, energetically, we support them, and it is very conscious, and we are lucky when they choose to consciously leave on their own.
Yeah, it's very lucky.
I mean, that was a whole different story. So, thank you for bringing this up. It seems like everybody's really resonating and can relate to this. And as we head into the third week of our Animals and Transition Fundamentals class, all of you that have put down these beautiful comments on here, I urge you to think about when we offer this again next year to jump in. And I included the TED Talk, and we have,
Do you want to come on, Shannon? It might be easier if you just come on.
Sure. Let me see if I can. I've got all the apparatuses here. Hold on. Okay.
Now I don't know if I'm going to be able to get her on. I think you have to. I don't know how to invite you from the iPad.
I think because we're iPad to phone or something. I don't know.
All right. I'm sorry we can't let Shannon on, but
I'm not allowed today.
not allowed. Next week we have some fun stuff. We have a guest who has a company that her stuff is very healing. We're going to have some other guests coming on, and we're going to do some EFT coming up, and then Shannon, maybe you could talk about what we have coming up in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, the book, right? The EFT book is coming up, so that's got us all excited about the classes that are going to include that. The first of which is the April Spring Intensive. So definitely, if you want to talk about that, I'll put my contact information in here because that's right around the corner in April. You can either come live to Joan's Farm, which I'm going to get to do. Yay! Or you can join us via Zoom, which I've done since April of 2020 for these beautiful intensives. But I just found out there's some exciting offers that we're going to do for this because of the book. So please reach out to me. I'm not going to expand upon them in here, but there's some big stuff we haven't done in years.
Yeah, we haven't discounted anything, and we are we're hoping you'll want to come in now because it's going to get crazy once the book is out.
Yeah,
to join us.
Really
so we have lots of discounts coming up for the spring intensive, and then after that we have Animal Communication Level 1 end of April, and we have Energy Healing for Animals starting in May. We also have there's a lot more, but getting on a call with Shannon is so helpful because she's helped so many people into their path, right? Like how so-and-so is doing it might be different than so-and-so. I know that there's Heidi and Leah here that you guided, and you know, even though I knew Heidi we were at a yoga studio together, and we were on a dolphin trip. She came on one of my dolphin trips. It still is about the fact that Shannon was able to really guide Heidi specifically based on Heidi. So Shannon's really great at listening, and she knows what, you know, she listens to you, and she knows what the school offers, and people create their own journey through this. Some people are very interested in the Animals in Transition, which is a big new certification we have going on right now. Some people are interested in our Animals and Ambassadors, which we have Animal Ambassadors going on right now. And some people just want to be a plain old animal communicator. So there's all sorts of ways to be part of this. There's small ways, big ways, but the Spring Intensive is one of the best ways to really get to know everybody, get to know the school, get to know what we're offering, and hopefully go from there.
Yeah, because the Spring Intensive really combines a lot of what the whole school is about, right? It's got the animal communication piece, the energy healing piece, and then the healing in sanctuaries. And we have a really cool exercise about the world. I mean, it really kind of, I think, encompasses everything that you set up, your belief system, and what you're doing to change the world, and how we can all jump in and help make that mission of getting 22 million animals help, and emptying the shelters and all the things like that this EFT path is taking us on too. I mean, it's really special. So if you ever wanted to see what a little synopsis of what the whole school is like, please join us. It's one of the paths into the certification program. So we do that twice a year. We've got April coming up. We have 2 opportunities in April. And, you know, who knows? Maybe you'll do like me and come in and like Heidi, and we're not leaving, so we become teachers. And so there's so many options.
There's so many ways to do it. And
yeah.
The other thing that's really fun about the Spring Intensive is you get to know people that are at all levels, right? So you come in maybe not knowing anybody, but there's people that are just graduating, people that are just starting. And so you get a taste of what the community is, and then get to know the teachers. So it's really fun.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. Don't let that scare you, because I know when I've been a beginner at something, I feel very, not adept at it. So we do pair you up in groups for people who are brand new, people who are in the middle of the process, and people who are in the certification program. So you get to see everything, but you're not gonna be overwhelmed. I promise you.
Yeah. So I have to teach, and I'm hearing weird sounds outside with the wind and gates, and so I'm thinking,
yes, you've got to hop off here.
Yeah. But I want to thank everybody. It was a great discussion, and I hope you connect with Shannon.